Very well then. Yes.
Sorry, there was a comment you said, and I just sticks in my mind. You said if things aren't changing, you aren't healing. Can you comment or expand on that?
Yes, thank you for that question. The eternal does not change. The spirit that we are so looking forward to be or experience does not change. We've come to this dream, to a nightmare of bodies and the cycle of life and death, fear. There's in the human life there is a small portion of ego happiness, and then the rest is the strain to avoid physical deprivation. We strive to sleep, to get enough sleep, to get enough food, to get clothes, to get a shelter, to get a reputation, to have enough sex, to have this is human life. Yes? Do you acknowledge this? Mm-hmm. And then there's a little bit of pleasure in between. But everything you do as a human experience is trying to save the body from suffering. Yes? Can we see this? The Holy Spirit in our mind is the memory of life eternal. The memory of I'm not a body, I am free, I'm still as God created me. The memory that says I am an aspect of creation, like everyone else. An aspect of creation. So, in this experience that I have of myself now, an experience depending where you're at, you can be more or less identified with your physicality, what you see in the mirror when you look in the morning. The Course in Miracles and the Holy Spirit are guiding us, or is guiding us to the release of the false identity, to return to the true identity, which is a joined one. And yes, we can have that experience here. This is what the Course calls the happy dream, the living in the innocent world. So, how do we know that this is that we are that we're working well? That we're taking the steps that we are taking. This is shown to us through change. Imagine, I have a symbol that comes to me. Imagine a spark of light in the sun, knowing itself as a spark of light. And then suddenly a thought came over and said, what if I'm not a spark of light? And then just for an instant, it was covered by a shell, like an eggshell. Yes? And then, what if I'm a woman? And then it was covered by a costume. What if? It's just an idea, yes? I was covered by the body of a woman. And what if I'm a mother, a professional, a good woman, and then the experience of myself ends up out here, when my true self is right in the center. This is just a symbol, yes? Because there's no such thing happening, but just a symbol. The way I experience myself is out here. I have no recollection of my true joining with the eternal, yes? So, as the Course in Miracles and the Holy Spirit works with me, I say, but I'm willing to let go of my identification with myself as a teacher. And this costume, the zippers take it, and the costume is gone. So now, my experience of myself is here. And I'm willing to let go my identification with being a mom. That costume is ripped off, and now my experience of myself is here. And then here I say, oh, I'm feeling more spiritual. But you're really not more spiritual. You're closer to the experience of yourself because you're shedding away the different, costumes that you put on. This is all mental. Yes? This is why the Course is called a Course that doesn't take you anywhere, but brings you back. Yes? It's undoing. It's an undoing. Like a mummy, taking out all the coverings. Yes? So as we become more and more spiritual, which is just a frame of speech, because it's not possible that you become more spiritual. You become more aware of who you are, but not more spiritual, because spirit is spirit, and it's the same in each and every one of us. As you become more, quote unquote, spiritual, that you feel yourself more in tune with reality, with truth, it's because you've been willing to let go of these costumes, these ideas you had about yourself, which were not true. This is where the Holy Spirit helps. This is why we need to work with the Holy Spirit. And then you come closer and closer and closer to the experience of yourself. Even though this doesn't mean that you're going to shut the body away and turn into sand. No. But the experience of yourself will be more and more intense. Well, this transit is the change. Apparent change. It's not a change at all, because what you really are is not changing. What is changing is the experience of yourself. Does this make sense? So if you're not experiencing change, then you're stuck. Completely identified with this external self that you fabricated. Yes? As we work with our inner teacher, it's very obvious. I'm pretty sure all of us have had this experience, no? That we seem to be getting more spiritual, but we're not really. We're not really getting more spiritual.
So the change was the experience of self, it wasn't the change in form.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, it's not the physical form. Even though the form might change, because once you let go of an attachment to a particular idea of yourself, that form might change, but we're not seeking to change the form, because the form is really not truly real. You can have a very beautiful form, and you want to say something?
No, it's just that the change in the Course of Miracles would be the undoing.
Yes, the undoing of the error in the mind. This is all it is. So if this is happening, you're on your journey. You're like on the, how do you call these strips in the airport? You just get on them and it's happening. The what? Yes, that, exactly. It's happening. But if you don't see any change in yourself, change in the way you see things, like she mentioned, she wasn't aware of a change, and then she saw it, and then, oh, wow, this has changed. And I used to be very addicted to this. I'm no longer. I used to lose my temper over this. Now I'm happy about it. You will feel the change, even though the physical form might stay in the same place. Yes? Thank you for that. Does anybody want to ask any questions? I want to ask you a question. I wanted to ask you, because even though there's 3 who are here with us today that were not in the lines that we made at the beginning, I'd like you to just feel for a second and share that with you. Tell me if anything changed. If you saw any change while we were moving around, seeing like God sees. Was there any change from the first to the last person?
Yeah, when I looked at one person in particular, I could see the face was changing. It was blending. It was disappearing. Kind of. It was becoming all one.
And how did you feel about it?
More spiritual.
Very good. There's some kind of something being shed away.
Perfect answer.
Anybody else?
I found it very embarrassing at the start, and then as it was going along, the embarrassment was getting less and less and less, and by the end I just wanted to hug everybody, you know?
Yes.
It just went...
The embarrassment.
The embarrassment.
The fear of intimacy.
Yes.
How intimate can just, staring into somebody's eyes for, 20 seconds? It's...
Yeah.
You'd rather hug someone, sometimes, and this we will experience this afternoon. We sometimes we think that hugging is the ultimate expression of loving, aside from sex and this kind of thing, but, with friends and stuff, hugging. And for me, especially in these groups and classes, and introduction classes, which is what we'll be doing in the afternoon, the hug for me is the resting of the boxer. Have you seen boxers when they're the resting of the boxer? Oh, when they're boxing, and then they hug, and they're resting. You know, when we are looking into each other's eyes, and that is very intimate, you immediately want to hug them to rest.
Yeah.
Even though the hug might seem more intimate, there's nothing more intimate than finding God in somebody else's eyes, which are your own. So you probably, I don't know if did anybody else have an experience like hers? Of embarrassment and shyness at the beginning? And then it fades away. It's all the intention that we wish to share. Because now the great message with this lesson that we were doing today is, would you receive God's messages? And this is part of what we were doing today. I don't know if anybody else wants to add a comment on their experience in the morning, and then we'll go into that question. Anybody else wants to share anything?
I definitely felt softer. I felt the softening, and it was quite profound. You know, it got deeper and deeper as it went along, and then the last one, it was like a melting. You know, that's the only way I can describe it. Just like it kind of melted. So it's beautiful, yeah.
It's very quick.
There's no distinctions between anybody. There's just no distinctions between any individual person, because we're all just the same.
Did you like that?
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. Yes, I like that very much. Yes, thank you. Anybody else?
There's a real connection, and as the connection continued on, it became this great acceptance. Just once.
Yes, you've said the important word, for me at least. Acceptance. And in this lesson it says, would you accept God's messages? So, it's not about understanding. Observe for a moment. Many of you probably might be thinking, I want to really grasp this, the course, or what I'm saying, or whatever. You know, maybe it's because she has this little accent, I'm not getting it, or something. You know, and you say, I want to understand it, and it's really not about understanding. God cannot be understood, neither can His messages. It does not go through your human brain. It does not go even through your human heart. It is your choice and the Holy Spirit's doing for you. So your choice is your acceptance, your honest observation of your resistances to love, like you described it so beautifully at first, and then okay, and then I accept. This is the powerful word. I accept. Am I willing to accept the messages that come from love? And it's okay to hear your own answer. And this is very important. Because when we do spiritual work with the Course, as Course in Miracles, or as whatever, the ego is still present. The ego is still there for a little while, and it will tell you, okay, we all have to feel the same way. We all have to do it this way. The ego, observe yourself and observe the mind that seeks the formula so that we can all do it right. Yes, did you see this? And this is basically the untrained mind. The ego tries to reproduce oneness by making us all dress in white, for example. Yes? Or all do the same thing, or all do it correctly. Just tell me. I've had many people tell me, but tell me how it is and I'll do it perfectly. And there is no such thing, and this is the beauty of A Course in Miracles. That there is a highly individualized plan for each and every one of us, honoring our dream and knowing that in that stage where we are being guided back to love. But it's very highly individualized, and we are allowed to feel however it is we feel. There is no correct way to feel. There's no correct way to do. In fact, the Course tells us, don't do anything. Yes? Just...
So by telling us that we are all one, the Course is allowing us to function as an individual, because that's the only way that we can function.
Well, this is the only way we know
That
for
we know how
now.
to function right now.
But that will change.
Yeah.
But that will change. Your experience will change of yourself. Where the highly identification with your personal self, with your name and the country where you're from and your gender, that if you allow the Holy Spirit, it will water down. Imagine the experience. Imagine this is a cup of coffee. I will give you this example. Imagine this is black coffee. This is the blackest night of the soul, which is the total identification with the ego self. Okay? Dark as night. And the total identification with the ego self is a place in our minds where we don't consider oneness as a possibility. We don't understand it. We don't even want to think about it. Yes? But then someone mentions the Course in Miracles and you kind of get it, or any other spiritual path that serves God. And the Holy Spirit, you think, oh, the Holy Spirit, and you kind of begin to call for help. And first you call for help very shyly. Yes? And this is all symbolic, okay? This is my cup of black coffee. This is me, my black coffee. And I call the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit comes in with a drop of clear water and falls into this self-deception. We're calling now black coffee. And would you say it falls just in one aspect of myself, or it kind of tampers with the whole coffee pot? You can't really tell when only one little drop of clear Holy Spirit guidance falls. You can't. But it's changing something. Then as you carry on through your acceptance and your training, you keep on calling the Holy Spirit to clarify for you your vision. He will come and drop more water into this dark night that you think you are. Now, just by conclusion, will there be a moment when this is no longer dark coffee and it will be clear water? Yes? Imagine, just do it yourself. If you have a cup of coffee, maybe because this is clear, it doesn't get across. Imagine this is my cup of coffee, dark coffee. One drop of clear water, the Holy Spirit. I'm really identified with my menopause. I need some clarity. Here comes some clarity. I am not a body. I am free. I'm open to the love of God. I have a relationship. I don't want to be special. I surrender to you my need to control my partner. Clear water into the dark coffee. There's a moment where it's going to start overflowing, yes? And it's going to be lighter coffee, and lighter, and lighter. Oh, Holy Spirit, I surrender to you. And the darkness will be over. So the time it takes for you or for any one of us to release the identification with this body experience is for us to say. The Holy Spirit will come to us and make our experience more spiritual, even though there's no change at all. But it's the experience depending on how willing we are. It's so fearful. You said embarrassment, but what is there truly is fear of love, fear of joining. As we start little by little, as we gain a little bit of trust, the Holy Spirit goes into your mind and you're coming more and more and more supported by the guidance of the Holy Spirit. It will take the time it takes, and that's perfectly okay. There is no rush in infinity, in eternity. There's no time there. And one thing that I find wonderful that the Course says is that we will all reach a point, like the end, the edge of the cliff, where God Himself takes the last step. So we go, let me see if I can say this in English, we go at the rhythm of the one who goes the slowest. Because I cannot get anywhere without you. Because as a one child, the loving thing is not to leave my brothers behind, but to wait for the last one. and then patiently. But I can wait if my mind is at peace. If my heart is calm, if my mind is quiet, I can wait. However long it takes. And this is when the great question pops up. Are you willing to accept God's messages? Think for a moment. What could God be saying to us? What could love be telling us? What are those messages that I need to accept for myself? And then there's a part of the course that I don't remember now where it is. It's called the Amorphia. It talks. Have you read this part in the book? It talks about the Amorphia. This word I had to. Yes. Well, the Amorphia is God. Is the formless. Amorphia means without form. And we are all on a journey to the Amorphia. But to the changeless, to the formless, to the bodiless. And this is a fearful journey if you don't have complete trust in the Holy Spirit, who is your we could say the worldly companion, because he sees the world you see, but he also sees heaven for you.
And when you die and leave your body, why do you come back again to another body?
Well, this is the thing. The Course talks about reincarnation. You've read that part?
Yeah.
Yeah. It says that reincarnation, in truth, cannot be possible because we are never born into a body or die of a body. But since everything can be used purposefully, a reincarnation, from the point of view of the Course in Miracles, can be observed as a perfect explanation of life eternal. So, if we look at it from that perspective, the fact that we are living and dying, leaving bodies behind, is more like leaving clothes behind, costumes behind, that you've used for a particular reason, that they're all ego reasons, but every ego reason can, if you offer it to the Holy Spirit, can be used purposefully.
Yeah, but when we die then, when I die, can I say to God, I'm fed up with being in the body, I don't want to come back?
You can say it. But God and the Holy Spirit will only hear the prayer of your heart. You know how, and you must have experiences, that you think one thing and you feel one thing and you end up doing a total different thing. So there's a dissociation in thought, experience, and action. And we are coming back to the total integration into one purposeful mind. When you are willing to reach the purposeful mind, you no longer have human investments in what you do, because your mind has understood and accepted that you only want God. And then that you said would not even be necessary, that phrase, I'm tired of being in a body, because the prayer of the heart will have been already heard. But if we, as in this human experience, keep coming back to what appears to be body after body after body, obviously there's a fear of God. There's a fear of the amorphia. Because just think for a moment. If we all went like this and we were back into the amorphia, oh my gosh, who's going to take care of my children? Who's going to feed my dog? What am I going to do? Who am I going to be? I'm not going to be anybody. Literally, I'm not going to be anybody. Because there will be nobody. And this is very fearful until you trust enough in the holiness within. Because the idea of not being a body, perhaps right now, is not a possibility yet. So your request will get the answer you're seeking only if the answer you're seeking doesn't make you more fearful than the request itself. Did I get that across? Because the Holy Spirit is here to release us from fear. And sometimes we have demands, we ask the Holy Spirit, but if what you're asking for, if you got what you were asking for, and that made you more fearful than the experience itself, then the Holy Spirit can't help you there. Because His function is to release you from fear, not to give you more fear. This is true with illnesses. This is chapter 9 in the course. It's mentioned in chapter 5 also. Chapter 5 and chapter 9. So, we are here today only to accept God's messages. Yes?
And another thing, sometimes you think, yeah, I'm praying for this and I want this, and you're not aware of what your subconscious desire is and beliefs, the unconscious beliefs that are running everything. And I was showing that one time on something that, it's often something and you really think you've forgiven it because you've said the words. And I was showing, I suddenly was showing that what my unconscious thoughts were, they became conscious, and they were at this moment in time, they were, and I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was going, my thoughts were, oh my God, I am useless, I am worthless, it's true, that they were all the hidden, and I thought I'd forgiven all these childhood things, they're all, and I suddenly became completely aware of them, and then I was like, oh wow, no wonder things haven't been going right, this is what's been running the show, even though on the surface I've been going, I'm a child of God, I'm worth everything. Underneath, my unconscious thoughts were going, it's a lie, you're worthless, I'm useless, and the ego was hidden from my view, so the Holy Spirit had to come in and show me that before, and I still really, but I totally believed it. I was so identified with it because I did surrender it, but I surrendered being useless. I said, right, I'm sick of this. I really fell to my knees and I said, I surrender being useless. I still believed that I was useless. I was surrendering being useless, but through
it's a start.
Yeah, but through, like, within the next few days, I found myself at a Course in Miracles workshop that I hadn't even known about. And at the time I didn't even have any money to go to it, and I had to really debate whether I could afford £20 to go to it. And Jesus was like, in my prayer was like, don't be silly, this is the answer to, this is the answer, go to it, And there was an exercise in that was very deep, which was really, which was forgiven by seeing it in someone else, where we wrote out things and swapped, or wrote out what we were judging ourselves for, and because it had all been just came up out of my conscious mind a few days before, we were supposed to write about 9 things. I had 22 things written, and then we didn't know what was going to happen, but we swapped with another person, and you had to try forgive the other person as if it was you, because it was you. And the 3 biggies, actually stuck in my throat. It was really hard to say it, but by recognizing that it was the other person, not just me, I could do it, and everything was transformed from that moment. And I was showing that they were lies, that it was ego beliefs, they were lies. And I had said those words 1,000 times. I had said, I am not worthless, that's an ego belief that I've made up, it's not true, I'm a child of God. I'd said all that.
But this is what we were saying with Patrick,
Yeah, exactly.
We have the dissociation.
Yeah.
Because, the ego is not a powerless enemy, if you want to look at it that way. The ego is in charge. He's not going to let you go that easily. This is why we have a mind training program that lasts a year, at the least. Most of us just keep doing the lessons, just to keep that muscle, spiritual muscle, strong enough. Not to defeat the ego, but to abandon it consciously. Become aware that what the ego offers me, I do not wish for. I only want God's messages. I only want God's love, truly. Then, as what you described very well, is what happens when you work with the Holy Spirit. He will show you what needs your attention. He will show you the obstacles. In the introduction of the Course, that's what it says. We're not here to learn what love is, but to know how to release the obstacles that hinder the experience of love.
And it's amazing because you don't have to do it yourself. That's the amazing thing. That if that was up to me to surrender, if that was up to me and my small self to get rid of that belief. That would never have happened, but I didn't have to do that heavy work. All I have to do is invite the Holy Spirit in, and the Holy Spirit does it, because there was no way I could have envisaged. I mean, that exercise that we did, it was received. It was an exercise that Jennifer Hadley had received directly from Jesus, and Jesus got me to go to there to do that exercise, because Jesus knew this was what I particularly needed to get. And there was no way that could fail, because it's not relying on my strength. You know, that's the amazing thing. It's like all you have to do is be willing to invite the Holy Spirit in and look.
And surrender. This is important. We do start this Course in Miracles from our ego mind. The spiritual ego says, "Oh, I can do Course in Miracles," and what it doesn't know is that the Holy Spirit will walk, just go into your mind and heal you from yourself, this little self. Yes. As this happens more and more and more, the choices you make are bigger and bigger and bigger, and favor you more. And then, as you surrender over to the Holy Spirit, the control over your thoughts, your life, you will be shown what you are not surrendering. You will be shown what is in your way of choosing love as your guide. Yes? Does this make sense? And this is what we're doing. This is what we will go in deeper in the afternoon. Making the right choices, but also becoming aware of the choices that we make that are not so good for each one of us.
I have a little difficulty with the word Holy Spirit, because I was brought up a Catholic, and of course I believe now that my parents were kind of brainwashed, and I was brainwashed into false beliefs, and therefore the Catholic Church used the term Holy Spirit, and you're using the term Holy Spirit. So,
which one do you like? It's okay.
The truth.
But there is a helper. I have an Irish lady I teach in Ibiza, and she said the same thing to me. No, she's Scottish. She's Scottish. Dawn is Scottish, right? Yes. And she says, I use HS, which could be HS, Holy Spirit, but for her it's higher self. I said, well, use that one. That's perfect. If that one works for you, I can say HS.
Yeah, it's better, yeah.
Yes. No problem with that. It's.
Could you also use the unconscious mind? Ask the unconscious mind.
Yes. Repeat.
Ask the unconscious mind to heal us.
Oh yes, of course.
Instead of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
well, the
Course covers this when Jesus says words are
symbols of symbols.
Twice removed from reality,
yes,
so they really don't matter.
So, each one of us, for example, in my case, I've taught many groups who were not Course in Miracle groups. Many. And I knew that in those groups, even though I was teaching the Course, certain terminology of the Course would be very rejected. Yes? So, in those cases, of course, I used any other word. For Holy Spirit, I would say the inner teacher, whatever, And because truly, the symbol, the word itself, is not the content. The content is the content. We just use a word to bring our minds to it. That's it. For me, when I'm with Course in Miracles students, it's like eating a chocolate cake. Because I think, I can say God, Holy Spirit, all the time, and people will take it in well. But I can see that sometimes still, even me, when I started the Course, I couldn't deal with Holy Spirit. I couldn't deal with the word God. Jesus was perfect for me, but these other two words. So truly we can use any word, because it's not of the word. What is interesting here, I can change the word, but I tell you, what is most interesting here is that if it triggers a little something, for example, in your case Holy Spirit, and in your case unconscious mind, no? If it triggers a little resistance, the word Holy Spirit, then there's something to be healed in there, and I can release it here and now. It's not justified. Yes? It's not justified. It's of my own doing and of my own past and of my own resistance. Do I understand? Is this yes? I can change the word, but it's better
That's okay.
if I'll keep it in mind. You'll see. But it's much better for each one of us that whatever word triggers discomfort, we can go to that inner self and say, I surrender this word because it's triggering an aspect of my past that I'm not comfortable with, because that's what it is. Conflict is only triggered when you associate it to the past. If you're in this moment, there's no resistance, there's no problem. So the question is still in the air. Would you accept God's messages? Anyone want to tell me something about that? How they feel when I ask that question? Would you accept God's messages?
Well, yes. If I hear them,
Yes.
I like to hear them.
Always intended for myself. So that yes that you have said has also said, yes, I am humbly willing to accept love for myself, because God has no other message but love. It might come to us in different forms so that we may extend them in different forms. We might hear them with our ears, but God's voice is the voice of the Holy Spirit. But His voice is heard only in silence. There's a silence of the mind and of the heart where all the messages are received. And we are called to being the receiver so we may be the messenger. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes. So just consider for a moment if you're willing to be a minister of love. If you are willing to extend only love and never again ever justify resentment, conflict, hatred. This is a little radical, but it's a start. Will I be, observe for a moment, am I willing to stop justifying resentment? Observe if you are willing. You might think, yes, I'm willing to stop justifying resentment, but my neighbor still puts the trash in front of my gate. And I'm not going to put up with that. And we are called to justify only love's messages. And what would they be? There's an aspect of the course that says only love is justified.
I feel sometimes that my Holy Spirit is like a cash machine that I visit every so often and ask for things, and I feel guilty then about it. I say, oh, maybe that's too much, maybe that's not, but give me what I need and not what I want. Maybe I'll accept whatever the answer is, but I always get an answer.
Yes. There is a thought that says that I have many needs, and maybe it's too much, but what would God deprive you of?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what moved me so much this morning in the circle, because that's the very thing. What would a loving parent, why would they treat you badly, punish you, make you feel guilty?
They wouldn't.
No.
So it's our wrong interpretation.
Yes.
Yes. Wonderful. You're not a Course in Miracles student.
No,
Wow.
I've read the book. I have it on my Kindle, and I took it to Australia with me last year, and when I was visiting my daughter, and I read that whole thing from cover to cover.
Wow.
But I must say, there's an awful lot of it I didn't understand.
Yes.
But the one thing I got was out of it was that you do deserve to be loved. You do deserve.
You got the best part.
Yeah. And what you said one day really knocked me off my pedestal altogether. I was on a pedestal to start with, but you said something about why would you pick, if you had the choice to be happy or sad, why the hell would you pick to be sad? And I said, gosh, that's really, that's a real, it's a simple, it's very simple.
It's very simple.
It's very simple,
Yes.
but I said, right, I'm choosing not to be sad, not to be anxious, not to be depressed, not to be, you can put those things aside.
Yes.
And it's, I just...
And what you've been doing with the Holy Spirit is I'm so grateful for you, because I've seen so many people during the course and they still don't go to the Holy Spirit for help.
Oh.
And this is the ego coming in the back door.
Mm.
Because you say, oh, I can do this. I can do it by myself. Guess who said that? Guess who thinks they can do it by themselves? Only the ego mind thinks they can do it to yourself. So every time we are humbled by our prayers and by our meditations and by our work, the ego is abandoned every time you call in the Holy Spirit.
And just one other thing, I used to be in my past life a social worker, and I remember having a client coming into me who was always in chaos. Her life was in ruins and there was always a big drama, and of course I felt, yes, I'm the expert here, we talk about this, forgetting all my training. And everyone in the agency saw her as, oh my God, here comes Mary. It's not her name, Mary again. And Mary had 2 learning disabled children. And when one day, I had been at a course in, not a course in miracles, but a course in Cork University that said, taught us something like the strengths perspective in social work, that's what it's called. So Mary came in, sat in the office, I was about to launch on my preaching, what did you get on this week, what did you spend money on, where was your... And I said, Mary, I just want to say to you that I think you're a wonderful mother. And the whole thing changed round completely, and from then on we made terrific progress. But again, it was very simple. Instead of seeing her as a problem, I saw her, looked for one thing I could praise her on, and we built on that.
You saw her like God sees her, maybe?
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you especially for mentioning the Holy Spirit, or the... Thank you. Or the HS, the higher self, the inner teacher. We are called to be helped. Please accept the help. Accept the gifts.
The Holy Spirit, speaking through you, has again shown me another block that needed released. Because when you were saying, are you willing to accept God's messages? I was saying, yes, 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 yes. And then, yes, I'm completely willing. And then you said, are you willing not to choose resentment? And I suddenly went, I was about to say yes, and then I realised, that's it, I've been doing that. I've been completely... And one of the things that's highlighted that to me, because it was very, very unconscious, I would have thought, I'm so tolerant and I don't hold on to resentment and I don't complain. Right? And I read this book about the complaint-free world. I've got this little bracelet. Every time you complain, grumble, criticise, and say anything resentful, you switch it to the wrist, and you're supposed to try and go for 21 days. It's just a massive wake-up call, because you suddenly realise how much you're in the ego, or take that back to myself, I suddenly realise how much I'm in the ego unconsciously. I'm thinking I'm not, and I'm not even sure if I've managed a whole day yet. I definitely haven't managed 2 days in a row, which just goes to show you, and I've been wearing this for months. And it's so, the ego's so subtle, or your perception can be of what you really are saying and doing can be right. And that you just highlighted something to me there, because there's been times where my boyfriend's annoyed me, for example. That's a simple one to illustrate, and I'll be saying to myself, I'm not going to be resentful of this. I'm not going to criticise him. I'm not going to mention this. Yeah, I'm really going to focus on this, but the attraction to doing it is so strong that even and that's my ego trying. That's me trying to control it. I hadn't invited the Holy Spirit in there to.
This is the thing. We don't want to control the ego. We
And
want
that's
to
why-
let
it
go.
doesn't work.
Yes.
You can't control it. It'll come out, and if it doesn't come out in your words, it'll come out in your body language, unless you invite the Holy Spirit in to change the perception. And I do that as well over many things, and then it just falls away. You don't have to
Control
You don't even
generates
change anything.
stress.
yes
Control.
control's big,
I'm in
yeah,
control. And there,
control's been a big.
how can you flow when you're in control? Only the drops in the river flow. They have no control. They trust the river. Let the Holy Spirit, the HS, be our river. And may we be the drops. Yes.
That sounds great. I was just judging myself because when they say to me at work, "Oh, how are you?" and I always usually say, "Oh, no use complaining, nobody listens," and it's a joke, but sometimes I kind of mean it. But anyway, as I said that I was just saying I must get one of those bracelets. But on the other hand, I mean, if there's something, if you have an issue that might need to be resolved, should you not, well, obviously not complain or criticise or judge, but say the person involved or whatever, I think there's something that we need to clarify or
That's different.
resolve.
That's fine.
But that's not complaining.
The
That's
complaint
doing
is
something
the
about
fine.
it.
I must stop you, girls.
Yeah.
Please.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not about the doing. It's not here, not now. It's not about the form, because we all want a formula. When it rains, should I get the umbrella? And then when it stops raining, I should close the umbrella. It's like all of us want a formula. When this happens, I should do this. And then when this other thing happens, I should do this. And then, oh, fine, I'll just write down my formulas and look them up in the, in the hard drive and pick them up when. And it's not
So what
quite.
you're saying, but if you listen to the Holy Spirit, you don't need a formula. You just know instinctively what the right thing
Well, you
is.
got to start drawing at some time. At some point,
that's
there has to be a beginning. Of course, you'll be doubtful at the beginning. Asking the Holy Spirit doesn't mean you're going to hear the voice as you hear my voice, but you have to start turning your attention. Imagine you've been like a submarine with a periscope, and you're going to start turning it around and say, I'm going to listen to myself. The Holy Spirit's not out there. It's not a voice that is not your own voice. It's your own higher self voice that we're training ourselves to listen to. But you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. If you can't hear it, if you can't hear the guidance, if you don't have the certainty, the least you can do at the beginning, and this is our training, is call forth this higher self and surrender. I don't know what to do here. I give you this situation and I'll wait for guidance. And then just wait 5-10 minutes. Just wait. And then do whatever you need to do. Go spank the kid. Go clean the mess. Do whatever is needed. Talk to the person. But you are bringing your mind to the humble acceptance of help. And this will be the great thing. Yes, the humble acceptance of help. It's the first step towards being a puppet of love. Yes? And for that, to do this, to achieve this, to be successful in this, we've got everyone here. And everyone in our lives giving us opportunity either to see them as God sees them, which is like the most wanted aspect of it all, or to see them as the ego sees them. Different, punishable. Yes? Ungrateful.
Great title for a book, Puppets of Love.
Yes.
There you
Okay. There you go. Very well. So I'm called by the Master of Ceremonies. He's saying, so that means 5 minutes. I'd like to end this morning session just with a gratitude movement. Yes? So I'm going to ask you to get up. And just hold hands. Yeah. Lovely. Irish group. Thank you very much. And just for a moment, bring your mind to the word gratitude, to the words thank you, and then you can use thank you, child of God, thank you, HS, thank you, higher conscious, thank you, light, thank you, love eternal. Then I'm going to ask you to open your eyes, and I'm going to go around everyone. And I will walk in front of everyone, and I will say thank you to everyone looking in their eyes, and you will do the same with everyone walking in front of you. I will show you don't have to do anything. Well, I'll come to you, yes? So I'll start right here, and I will just say thank you right here, and then I'll carry on. And I'll say thank you here, and then come. You say thank you to each other, thank you. Yes, to each other, thank you. You can go back to your seat. Where are you going? Thank you. And everybody's seen everyone. You can go back to your seat and